What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we're back once again with the fourth and final updated raid that came with Age of Triumph. And as usual, we're going to be talking about the new exotic weapons up for grabs with those sweet elemental burns, also the raid itself, and some of my tips and thoughts on the new updated Wrath of the Machine. So let's begin taking a look at some of the stuff I've picked up. We're over here on my Titan, who definitely got the most lucky in terms of the drops. So beginning with the Adept Primaries, won't spend too long on these because I talked about them in a recent video. But first you have the weapon I was definitely the most excited for, the Steel Medulla in its beautiful Void Burn. This is probably the best primary out of the four in my opinion, and especially in the raid as well. This is a really solid primary weapon. Although most of the time you would normally want to use an exotic in your special or heavy, especially like a Raised Lighter or a G-Horn, so not really too sure if you could justify this all the time. Again, you definitely want to be using some heavy DPS weapons for boss damage, but for strikes or anything with a burn, or just anything if you want to like tackle one of the captains with Void Shields, this thing is definitely going to be a very good choice. You of course got full auto, you got the extra damage when you land Rapid Burst, and of course bonus damage to all Fallen. So this is a really strong primary, very consistent, easy to use, hold down the trigger, not much recoil, so very happy with this weapon. So next up you got the Chaos Dogma, the Scout Rifle. Of course this is an arc burn, and this is basically a boss killer. Once again, you probably would want to use something like actually made for bosses like Sleeper or G-Horn or some of the actual weapons in your heavy or special slot, especially Ex Machina. You wouldn't normally want to use an exotic slot for a primary to DPS a boss, but if you do want to do that, this is definitely a very good choice. And of course, once again, in strikes, anything with arc burn, this thing is going to destroy, especially those kind of majors and elites with big amounts of health. So Chaos Dogma got a bit of kick to it, and especially with the arc burn, it's got a bit of flash to it as well, but still a very useful weapon to have in your arsenal. So next up we have the Genesis Chain, the Auto Rifle in solar damage. This is pretty similar to the Pulse Rifle in the fact that it's kind of a casual weapon. You use it in a lot of situations, especially PvE, when you're DPSing like loads of ads, and the Firefly is going to kick in and be pretty handy. So with solar burn, this is going to be a decent weapon to have also. And then the fourth and final weapon is, of course, the hand cannon, the Fever and Remedy. So this one, of course, does solar burn. It's a very standard hand cannon. Nothing too great, but nothing bad about the weapon either. Like I said, a very standard weapon. If you want to use it and strike something, maybe PvP as well, it's going to be pretty decent. I didn't actually manage to get this weapon myself. This is me inspecting Bife's one. He got this drop for him, but I didn't get all four of the primaries. The first time the RNG wasn't on my side. Instead, I managed to get 3 of the Steel Medulla Pulse Rifles. I guess the game knew which is my favorite, but I got 3 of these things and 2 Chaos Dogmas. So that is how my drops went over. I mean, like I said, the Pulse is the main thing I wanted, so pretty happy I got that thing. At least I got 3 of them, and the hand cannon is probably the weapon I was least excited for. So not too bad, but I'll definitely be doing the raid some more times to try and get that hand cannon, seeing as it is, of course, the only solar hand cannon in the game, so definitely worth picking up to have that weapon, which is, of course, pretty unique. Now, strange fact about these weapons, they aren't actually Adept, which is quite strange. Of course, all the other weapons are called Adept, that's what makes them exotic, with the Elemental Burn. But instead, these Wrath exotics just have the brackets, as you can tell the difference between this legendary and normal Steel Medulla. So I guess that's fitting in with the whole code theme of Siva itself. So in terms of the weapon that I use personally for my runs of the Wrath of the Machine raid, you guys can probably guess already, of course, the Vision of Confluence. Definitely my favorite weapon in the game right now, and the weapon I use all the time in year 1. So this thing is an absolute monster. It's a scout rifle, very good range, very good damage, and it's also got really good stability and reload. So it's a very consistent weapon. Obviously, this is the legendary version, so solar burn is really too needed in the Wrath of the Machine raid. Instead, I use things like the Sleeper and the G-Horn and the exotic swords. So this thing is really nice to have a legendary version, and this is basically my main go-to. I feel like in the raid, you don't really need that many close quarters weapons, and when you do, I think a sword is the best fit. So I use a scout rifle like this. I know a lot of people like the Burning Eye or a Fate Bringer with explosive rounds, which one-shots the shanks, but this thing definitely fitted me. And of course, the Sniper, the Ex Machina. I've got 3 of these, 1 in each elemental burn, but I mainly use the Void one in the raid because, of course, those captains have a Void shield, so that was definitely my go-to. And of course, for all boss DPS, this thing is one of the kings and definitely an amazing weapon, considering it's only legendary. And in my heavy slot, I was most of the time using G-Horn, so I can get down the captains, also do a bit DPS to bosses. That was my main kind of loadout. So in terms of the other things I picked up, we've got the Ghost Shells, an absolute mountain of them. Somehow picked up loads of them. I think it was from the Axis Phase 1. But yeah, those are a bunch of Ghost Shells I picked up. Some of them are pretty good rolls. I'll definitely have a look at those. Now, in terms of the armor is definitely where my character got the most lucky, and my Titan picked up a full set just from this one raid. So really, really fortunate in terms of the gear. And I was actually really hoping to get the Titan set from the Wrath raid, because it's definitely one of my favorites. I think it looks really cool, just like sleek and nice looking. So pretty happy to pick up this set. With the spliced version, which is the hard mode, of course, coming at 400, and the normal 385 version. We also got the gauntlets, the chest piece. We got 2 sets of boots, both normal ones, and also the mark right here. Also picked up some stuff for the other characters. We got the bond and 2 versions of the cloaks, and also a chest piece for Hunter back there too. And yeah, quite a lot of armor in general, definitely very happy with it. and also 2 artifacts, as you can see right here. Didn't manage to get the Nano Phoenix ship or the Sparrow. They seem to be quite rare drops. The one thing I was definitely after that I didn't unfortunately get was the Wildfire shader, the new Wrath of Machine shader added in Age of Triumph, and this is basically bright orange and black. Really, really cool. Probably one of our new favorites. You can see it here. It looks awesome on this Wrath set, but also pretty much most armor sets in the game. It's just a really cool looking shader. I've seen a ton of you guys getting the shader as well and tweeting me images, but hopefully I'll get it at some point soon. I definitely want this for my collection. Now, in terms of the Wrath of the Machine raid itself being bumped up, of course, from the hard mode being 380 to 390, I didn't really notice much of a difference. You could definitely feel a slight bit more kind of pressure, with the enemies doing a little bit more damage and taking less damage as well. I feel like most people wouldn't struggle, seeing as the most recent raid, a lot of people are very, very good at doing it and kind of tackling it out in a short amount of time. So I don't think many people have too much trouble. I think it's the older raids, which a lot of people aren't very experienced with. Like I said in my initial raid guide videos, the main thing in this raid is communication, especially Axis. It is definitely very heavy on communication, so I can imagine it could be pretty difficult if your team isn't good at coordinating each other and getting communications out. So if you want any tips from me, I would just say make sure your communication, coordination is on point. It's definitely the most important thing, even more than staying alive and making sure the ads don't kill you. So those are some of my tips, and hopefully you guys getting on well with it as well and getting all these sweet loot drops. Of course, comment down below some stuff you've picked up and how you're getting on with the new Wrath of the Machine raid. As always, if you enjoyed the video, a like rating would be much appreciated, and I'll see you guys next one.